Morning Tribe, it is Thursday and you want to know how to build strong, bigger glutes fast. Today we're talking all things glute training. We're going to take a deep dive into the best methods, what has worked the best for us and our clients, and I've got a special guest on the show with me today, none other than Kalisha May. All that and more coming up right after this. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image. Both of us. Welcome. In case we haven't met, my name is Yanni Baumeister and I am one of the co-founders of Unity Gym, and to my right here is none other than my partner in crime, Kalisha May.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, you feeling
Hola.
good?
Yes, feeling very good, thank you.
Fantastic. So we've got our little 1-year-old just outside the door, like screaming trying to break in. We had some really good questions come in this week from some of our female tribe members who are new to the Foundation Movement System and also the Movement Mastermind online coaching program. And they were specifically around glutes. And Kalisha is the glute queen around here. It's been one of her training priorities for quite some time. And so I thought, what better way to talk about glutes than to get her on the show, because we do have something quite exciting to reveal today that we'll talk about towards the end of the program. So we're going to talk about Leah Nash. I know, Leah, we gave you a shout out yesterday and we did somewhat answer your question yesterday, but I didn't dive deep into glute training and glute programming because I thought I'd save the juicy bits for today's discussion. I know I lied to you yesterday and said that we're going to be doing it either Thursday or Friday, but it's all good. We're doing it on Thursday. I'm also going to answer a question from Sean Villela from our Movement Mastermind tribe in regards to intermittent fasting and the metabolic window as far as muscle protein synthesis goes. We'll save that to the end. We'll dive straight into our glute programming. So first of all, give us a little bit of a background history about your experiences with glute training. Why did it start? Why did you start? Why did you develop a passion for glute training?
Oh.
Don't let me answer that question.
Well, I thought it's pretty obvious. Like, who doesn't want a nice, round, perky glutes? Look, the real passion, I don't know if it's a passion, but it's just, it's definitely a goal because, I do prefer training my lower body.
Yep.
I find it much more fun and enjoyable than training my upper body. And
it's
because
common, I guess, with men and women.
Yeah.
Women want lower body, men want upper body.
Yeah, and this was very much before we started training the FMS as well. So I very much enjoyed it more. But then when we started doing the FMS and focusing more on that, I found that I was working too much on my upper body and my glutes were wasting away, essentially. Yep. And especially while breastfeeding, it's very hard for me to maintain any muscle mass, really. So, and I have lost it very quickly. So I was like, I need to work on my glutes. And at the end of the day, I want to wear a bodycon dress that hugs my glutes, not my lats.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main drivers of the aesthetic driver. But training your glutes has a lot of crossover as well to like a lot of other exercises into your core, and
yep.
that's obviously very important as
yep.
well. So
absolutely.
especially in the rehab after having kids and stuff. So,
yeah, absolutely. So, and then from my perspective, the reason why I've always put quite a large emphasis on glute training is because of what we spoke about yesterday. They are, on a functional standpoint, they are a massive stability mechanism in the body, and having strong glutes will help sort of de-stress the knees when you're running. They'll help de-stress the lower back when you're lifting, and they're also just sort of quite important to work intrinsically with the abs for lower body posture, pelvic posture and alignment. So there's so many good reasons to train the glutes, and as Kalisha said before, no one has ever said your glutes are just too damn perky. It's just not something that we would say, It's always very nice to have that shelf glute bubble butt look.
Looks nice in a dress.
That's right. So the cool thing about the glutes, which I think anyway, is that because there's a variety of muscles working there. You've got the outer muscles, which is the glute max, the med, and the min. The glute min and med are the muscle you sort of see up the top here, and the glute max is more around the back. And they all sit on the surface. They're the superficial muscles that you can sort of touch and feel. They have crossovers in what they do as far as function goes. They both kind of work as a stability and a movement muscle, but they also both really well. Like the glute max is a real movement muscle. It works. It's very, very active when we're running. It's very active when we're jumping. It's very active when we're squatting. Very active when we're deadlifting. The min and med are more active when we're externally rotating the hip, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, and then you've got the deeper layer of muscles underneath, which are really stabilizers for the hip, and they sort of help the greater trochanter, which is the top of the femur, the big bone in your leg, to sit and stabilize inside the pelvis. And they need stability, balancing exercises. So we're talking single leg movements, balancing, pistol squats, single leg squats, split squats, all of that sort of stuff. Bosu and Duradisc exercises where we're literally removing stability. And so there are so many different ways that you can train the glutes. And the best thing about that, I'm not saying that to overwhelm. I'm saying that because it means that we have the opportunity to train glutes on a variety of days throughout the week, which just increases the hypertrophic potential of the fibers in the glute, meaning that we can make them bigger faster. And so the key of today's discussion is to make glutes bigger faster. And I think that...
Well, we also, with Leah in particular, evening out that imbalance from her right to left side. So the great thing about the glutes, as you mentioned, is that it's really easy to do unilateral work.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Really easy and really effective.
Absolutely. So what we want to talk about today is there's probably two keys. Okay, I'll say 3 key points. I like the number 3. It's a nice number. Let's try and round it down to 3 key points. The first one for me would be that you need to train the glutes on a variety of days. And you've got a great opportunity to do so because you want to get as much volume to grow them fast. You want to train them. My optimal is if your number one priority is to grow glutes and to build strength in the glutes, I say 3 days a week. 3 days a week, attack the glutes. And then we can attack them in different styles of movement. So on one day, you can prioritize hip bend movements. On one day, you can prioritize single leg movements. On one day, you can prioritize hip abduction, abduction movements where we're doing clams and lateral band walks and things like that. Yep. So let's rattle off a couple of your favorite exercises for each of those. Are we in agreement that that's a good strategy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about hip bend movements. What are your 3 favorite hip bend movements? Thinking about everything: kettlebell swings, deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, back extensions, good mornings.
Well, hip thrust, is that hip bend? No.
Hip thrust is a hip bend movement?
Yep. So hip thrust, definitely. Honestly,
hip bend. Kalisha asks, is it a hip bend movement? Because you're not theoretically bending over, but when you lay down, you're creating the bend movement. Absolutely. So we got number 1, hip thrusts.
Yeah. I really like kickbacks, if they're one. Single leg kickbacks.
Yep.
Kind of, yeah.
Yep.
And then probably low deadlifts. Deadlifts would have to be.
Deadlifts. Yeah. Boom. My 3 favorites would absolutely be deadlifts, hip thrusts, and low bar squats. Low bar barbell back squats really hit the glutes nicely, and either those or good mornings, standing barbell good mornings. I'm a big fan. Good
mornings are good, but I'm not a huge
there's
fan.
so many. There's RDLs. There's reverse hypers are amazing.
Yes, they are really good.
We could go on all day. If I had to pick 3, okay, let's pick a couple of different open and closed chain movements. So deadlift, conventional barbell deadlift or sumo deadlift, they both work really well for the glutes. A reverse hyper and Romanian deadlift.
Yeah.
Ooh, 2 deadlifts. I've thrown 2 deadlifts in there. Those are my 3 top. I reckon they're amazing. Or a standing barbell good morning. Oh, geez. Let's do a good morning, a deadlift, and a reverse hyper. Okay, moving on. Single leg. What are your 3 favourite single leg movements?
Okay, well, single leg, definitely kickbacks.
Yep.
Fire hydrants.
Oh yeah, pulling the cable through the legs.
No, so fire hydrant is when you're on all fours and your legs coming out to the side, so you're lifting it upwards like this.
So you're peeing on the fire hydrant like a male dog.
Yes.
That's where the name comes from. Is that a Brett Contreras special? Yes. Yeah, I bet it is. Classic.
Fire hydrants and another single leg. Can't go past a single leg hip thrust, really.
Awesome. Single leg hip thrust. Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Or a single leg good morning. Okay, so my favourite single leg exercises is a split squat. Really deep, leaning forward, putting the dumbbells, the weight, the load in front of the knee at the end. So you're essentially leaning forward and really maximising that glute stretch and then contraction, so the range of movement. Then a single leg good morning, I really, really like. And probably a pistol squat. Yeah, pistol squat for the glutes. I'm a massive fan of those 3. You can tell that I like more of the compound movements, and Kalisha likes really getting in there and isolating the glutes a little bit more. Okay, so now we're doing hip abduction movements. What are your 3 favourites?
Hip abduction. I really like doing the
So you've already named the fire hydrant. That's kind of a hip
it is a bit, isn't it?
Abduction movement. Yep.
But then you've also got lateral band walks and even just banded abduction. Leaning back, neutral, and then also leaning forward.
Yeah. Yep. The other cool thing is that you've got static, concentric, and eccentric contraction. And so what I've noticed Kalisha doing a lot right now, because she kind of does, she's got which we're going to talk about in a sec, so I don't want to drop it too, but she's got a glute specialisation program that she follows that is like, she's been doing squats, barbell back squats with a glute loop, which wraps around the knees, which forces the legs inward. So you've got to push your knees outward against the resistance. So you're creating an isometric contraction with the abduction glute mechanism, and then you're going through the squat range of movement, which is just gnarly on the glutes. It's very effective for beginners, especially people who are developing new strength in the glutes. You get a massive bang for your buck from that exercise. Okay, my 3 favourite abduction movements. I like the lateral band walk a lot. I do also like the fire hydrant. And I think the last one for me is probably just like a glute clam.
Yeah, the clams are really good.
Clams are really good for abduction as well.
Yeah.
Okay, now, very quickly, so how do you put this into a program? As we said, variety of different days. Choose a focal point for each day. Focus, like double down on hip extension movements, double down on single leg movements, double down on clam movements. Then I think the second key to that is with your interset overloading principles. So what I would do is go for real strength during your hip bend. So you're kind of doing like low repetition stuff, high weight, high intensity. Then on your single leg stuff, go for sort of a medium rep range. This is the way I would do it, 8 to 10. And then for your abduction stuff, I'd be like going all out 20, 30 rep, high rep stuff, because they're the stabilizers. They're the muscles that respond best to a high amount of volume, lower intensity. Yep. Would you agree?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got the 3 main points. Variety of days, because there's a variety of muscles, and you can create a lot more volume by training them on multiple days. Split the days into focal points where you're, focusing, doubling down on hip bend, doubling down on your single leg, and doubling down on your hip abduction. And then finally, use interset overload variables like higher reps, higher intensity, lower intensity, on each of those days to match, to suit the exercises based on the muscles that are being activated most.
Yep.
Those are probably the key elements, the 3 key elements. Now, I'm going to throw a bonus element in there, which everyone should be thinking about. From a postural standpoint, and this is something I freaking love about your program, which we're about to talk about, is that she balances ab work and glute work, because the abdominals and the glutes both have the ability to affect posture, right?
Yes.
Really tight glutes can flatten the back and pull. It's called lower cross syndrome. And really tight abs can do the same thing, and same thing vice versa with weak. So the systems that work together, the quads, the lower back, the abs, and the hamstrings all have to be in a really nice balance.
Yes.
And so you got to make sure that when you're programming to suit that. And certain people, when they're starting out, and we can assess this when someone walks in the door here at the gym because we've been doing it for so long, but certain people will have structural imbalances. I wrote a blog about it just recently. If you're on our mailing list, you would have got it. If you're not, why not? And we did a show about it the other day. Training to overcome anatomical structural imbalances is very, very important. And if you're the type of person, and there are going to be girls out there that watch this video who fall into this category, who have a very flat butt, often it's not just a lack of muscle in the glutes, it's the posture of the pelvis, the way your pelvis is aligned, that flattens the glutes out. I don't know if you can get my, when I stand up, can you see my hips in my camera there? Yeah. So if I have really tight hamstrings and abs, it's going to pull this way, and that tucks my glutes in, and all of a sudden I have no glutes. If I have really tight lower back and weak abs and tight hips and quads, then it pulls me this way, so that now I've got that hyperlordosis. So what we want to make sure is that those muscles are in check and are in balance, so that we don't create those imbalances. And that's something that a good glute program has to do as well. Now, before we do the shameless plug, let's talk about Sean Villalla's question, because this is a really good one. Day 1 of my Wednesday, and I'm on my first deficit day of fasting, which is fantastic. In our foundation movement system, now Rad and I are not nutritionists. Kalisha is a nutritionist. She's done a precision nutrition certification, but we are big advocates of intermittent fasting and different types of time-delayed eating. And we do it not so much for optimizing muscle protein synthesis, we do it for longevity and overall health, and to support the amount of training that we do. Sean here has asked a very good question. My last meal was 9 p.m. last night, so I eat at 1 p.m. If I work out in the morning, I am about to head out. Should I eat earlier in the night so I can time my eating around the end of my workouts? How do you guys feel about the anabolic window and fasting? Now, to my knowledge, and I have to reiterate, I am not a nutritionist. I'll talk here to this camera. To my knowledge, Sean, the anabolic window, and I'm not a nutritionist, but I spend a lot of time around nutritionists, and I spend a lot of time around PhD nutritionists who are focused on muscle protein synthesis. One of the guys, Dr. Gary Slater, you can Google him. He's an authority figure on muscle protein synthesis. He almost wrote the book. Same with Dr. Lane Norton. He's done a PhD, to my knowledge, on muscle protein synthesis. These guys talk about the fact that the metabolic window is, yes, it is optimal. It's an optimal period to get some dietary protein in straight after your workout, but it's not as important as you think. Here's the thing. The window of opportunity, the metabolic window, reopens every 2 to 3 hours, and it generally does that for up to 72 hours, depending on the intensity of your exercise. So if you really train hard and cause a lot of metabolic damage to the tissue, you really, really push the muscles, you deplete the muscles, then your metabolic window of opportunity will continue to reopen for days after your workout. So, to say that you're only worried about the 30 minutes immediately after exercise, it's not as important as you think. As long as you're getting enough dietary protein into every meal, I believe, and what we believe is that the benefits of intermittent fasting, the upregulation of cellular autophagy, and all of those things are worth missing out on that initial metabolic window. There's a caveat to what I'm saying. If your goal is 100% bodybuilding and you are, at all costs wanting to put on muscle mass, and for ectomorphs out there who, are very, very skinny naturally and struggle to put on weight, I would dare say that it's probably arguably better for you to just focus on optimizing muscle protein synthesis. What would you say, Kalisha? Considering your experiences with intermittent fasting,
I would agree.
Yeah, Kalisha's holding back. She used to do intermittent fasting, and lately she stopped doing it, and she didn't feel like it was right for her for personal reasons. Kalisha is, as she said before, alluded to, she's breastfeeding, and when women are breastfeeding, they lose a lot of weight. Quite quickly, it's like this cool.
In my case.
In Kalisha's case, yeah. In Kalisha's case, she finds it hard to maintain muscle mass. One of the areas that she's upset that she's lost mass from is her glutes. She's complaining about it all the time. So her goal is to optimize muscle protein synthesis, and at the moment, and so she is not following an intermittent fasting regime, are you? Or system or program or diet or time delayed eating?
Nothing like that,
yeah.
No. I just eat when I'm hungry.
She just eats when she's hungry. There you go. You have it firsthand. So I hope that answers your question, brother. We don't worry about that initial metabolic window. I often will train. We train every morning in a fasted state, and then we often don't eat. I sometimes don't eat for another 2 hours afterwards. Other times, like we sort of have put our lifestyle around the fact that we train at 9:30 until about 11:30, 12:30, and then we eat or have our first thing after that is a protein shake, and then usually about half hour later to an hour later we have our first meal of the day. So it's hard for me to judge, but I often am in flow working, and I don't have anything at all until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And for a period of time last year, I experimented with a 24-hour fast every Monday, and I would go full 24 hours. And that was a day when we used to do deadlift day on Monday. And I was doing deadlifts, like heavy deadlifting on Monday whilst doing a 24-hour fast. Easy. So that's what my recommendation was for. Good question though, brother. Keep them coming. How are we going for time, Richie?
We're getting close to it, yeah.
Yeah, what's it? 9:17. Okay. So there's no one on the live chat. No, good. Okay, so now what we're going to talk about is something very, very exciting, because we've had a few women, I think 3 or 4 women who've come into the Movement Mastermind, and they're asking, they've got either imbalances like Leah in her glutes, so she really wants to prioritize eradicating that imbalance and strengthening her glutes. And hey, I have no problem with a focal point being on glute strength, because it is such a functional muscle system, and you're going to benefit in many ways from it. We're going to get Kalisha to produce her glute specialisation program, the Booty Project, which we started a long time ago. We designed all of the programs. She put them to the test and everything, and got amazing results. We had a couple of girls go through the program with her, but we just didn't video all of the workouts. We didn't get to that stage because
we had a baby.
And then we had another baby.
We had another one.
Which tends to put a bit of a grinding halt on your life's plans. Kalisha's created an entire blog called Mum Interrupted about her...
which will be a podcast.
Which will be a podcast eventually, yep. About her experiences with interruption to life plans and goals. So yeah, if you guys are excited about that, hit us up, comment, like, share the video. We're going to start producing a glute specialization program, which is designed for people who want to prioritize glute training. It means that you're going to be really hitting the glutes quite hard 3 days a week on squat day, deadlift day, and you're going to trade out one of the straight arm strength days to add a third glute day in. And we're really excited to get cracking on this. I think it's going to be really, really awesome. And what we're going to do, Kalisha doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to do it anyway, is that we're going to offer it to a bunch of people in our Movement Mastermind tribe who have this as a goal, like Leah, for free, to trial the program and give us a raving review so that before we launch it to the public, we've got some social proof. So if you like the sound of that, especially Leah Nash, who asked us this question, and there was 2 other girls, I'm sorry I haven't remembered your names, have asked me this question in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to hit you all up personally, and we're going to get you into this program if you want to, and you can prioritize that for a 16-week training block. What do you think?
Sounds great.
Happy to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you can give the girls a bit of support online?
Yep, be happy to help out.
Yeah, awesome. Exciting. All right, guys, well, we're pretty much out of time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And thanks, everyone else, for joining us. I don't know if I gave Kalisha much of a chance to say much throughout that whole thing. But
it's the usual anyway.
big tooth announcements, guys, before we go. I've quit coffee. That's it. It's the last big addiction other than work and sex that I had. I'm not quitting the last 2, but the coffee's gone. I'm drinking tea here today. This is a ginger and lemon tea. It's very nice. I'm putting that out to the world so you can keep me accountable. And also, I'm feeling freaking amazing. I don't know if you noticed, but I've got a little bit more energy today. I'm feeling really, really good. The course of action that I took for my gut parasite seems to have worked really well. So, yes, I'm going to start training again today. Super psyched, super pumped. All right, guys. See you all tomorrow for Friday for a massive weekly wrap-up. Get your questions in if you're part of the Movement Mastermind tribe. I'm doing my weekly AMA again at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. Make sure you're there. Other than that, we'll say goodbye at this camera here. See you later, everybody. Have a great day. We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.